Okay. Welcome to another episode of enLIGHTen with Div and Deb. And today it's the day after Mother's Day. Yesterday was Mother's Day, and so
here in Australia, in some places in the world, it's becoming Mother's Day.
Oh, or it's still, that's true. That is true. Or it's still currently. I spoke to with my mum on the phone this morning, had breakfast with her. This morning was evening for her. Yes. So, because here in Australia, we're ahead of the rest of the world.
That's right. We're ahead of the curve. If you ever want to know how the day turns out, just give us a call. We'll let you know it all turns out fine in the end.
Yeah, it'll be a great day. So we thought we'd explore what is a mother's love? What does it mean to love? What is the role of a mother?
And well, everybody's had a mother.
Yes.
Some of us are mothers. Some of us do mothering, even of those that we haven't biologically given birth to. So I think it's really important to know that there are functional models and dysfunctional models. There's not everything that a mother does and does with the intention that's positive actually leads to good results. So we know that there are four main models of parenting: the authoritarian, the laissez-faire.
Laissez-faire.
Yes.
Laissez.
That's the kind of permissive one, isn't?
The
permissive, authoritarian, permissive, and laissez-faire. You say that for me.
Laissez-faire. Yeah, I'm remembering. So there's the dismissive, disapproving, laissez-faire, and then the
authoritative, which is different from authoritarian. So they're labeled in different ways, but there is basically the parent who is, I am boss, I'm not interested in what you've got to say or do. You are kind of broken and dysfunctional, and I've got to mold you into something to be a functional adult.
I'm the parent, you're the child, you are a piece of clay for me to mold, basically, is the mindset.
Yes.
You're a piece of clay for me to mold. And that type of parent, they actually get really upset when a child starts to have their own personality and own sense of, interests, and just as we do, as we humans each have our own interests and desires in the world. That type of parent is actually very off put by that. Yeah.
And I'm going to make some sweeping generalizations here. Okay. A lot of parents who have had, a lot of people who have had strict parents will maybe have absorbed that authoritarian style of parenting, which has been endorsed by society as a good parent, allows certain things and disallows other things, and children should be seen and not heard, and the adults are the boss, and that is disrespectful of a child, and you should not be letting that go on. And there's lots of kind of shoulds in it.
And those parents often, as I think about this now, those parents often follow the belief that the child is a reflection of me, right? Hence the you are mine to mold. And so that's why they tend to get upset if the child behaves in its own, if it does its own thinking, has its own values, or
then they see it as a reflection of me and my failure as a parent because this little being isn't behaving perfectly.
Yeah.
And then there is the passive or dismissive parent who is, maybe you see a child that's throwing a tantrum and they're doing things that are not really wholesome, let's say, for themselves or for others, and they will not attend to that.
That's the parent that doesn't know how to say no. Like their own challenges and struggles are that they don't know how to be firm and loving while they say, no, this is not healthy, this is not wholesome. So they just are passive and dismissive.
Yes.
About what behaviors
Passive
that
and dismissive. So they're not paying attention, haven't got their eye on the ball. The distinction between that one and the, let's say, permissive or laissez-faire parent is that they're paying attention, and the attention is, okay, honey, whatever you want, and it's a very kind of sweet yes. My job is to make sure your life is happy, nothing upsets you.
Okay, so that's the distinction. So the parent that can't say no is more laissez-faire. The one that's negligent is the more permissive, passive one. Okay,
yes,
got it. Yes,
passive. Yeah. Kind of the dismissive or passive one is not my problem. You sort it out. I'm busy, I've got other things to do, kind of thing.
They're the ones that can't be bothered parenting. They're like, oh, just grow up already.
Yes. And so the other one is attentive, but doesn't set boundaries, doesn't say no, doesn't challenge in some way. And the authoritative parent is one who's very engaged, paying attention, let's say present, and they're having a conversation with the child in such a way that they're able to develop their own thinking and decision-making capacity, fostering them being able to take responsibility.
Authority. So you're making a distinction between what was the first type, authoritarian, and the fourth type is authoritative.
Yes.
Is that what? Okay.
Yes.
So the authoritative one is like, I'm an authority figure, and is it more like a mentoring role, the authoritative one, or is it more? What's the? How would you?
It's unknowingly they actually coach.
Right. Authoritative is more of a coach.
Coach. Yes. And I would say authoritative because they retain some responsibility for the manner in which they interact and their role towards the child in coaching, holding space for them to develop to maturity. And some of that requires saying no. Well, I am the one with the purse strings, so I do have to participate in the decision, do we buy ice cream right now or not? And having some responsibility is saying, well, I know things you don't know, like how your brain works and your digestive system and so forth. I know a developing brain doesn't do well with alcohol. So no, not until you're 18 or whatever. And that no comes with reason. I'm not saying that always the reason is given, but it comes with an energy of reason.
Right. So there's no charge in it that's like, because I said so, because stop asking me, because there's no, so there's when it comes with an energy of reason, what you're really saying is there's like patience and presence in it. It's presence more.
Yes.
There's presence in it.
Yes. So this kind of is a bit of a basis for saying what is love and what does it mean to be a loving parent when we understand as a mother, we will want to nurture, we will want to nourish, we will want to protect, and we will also want to be holding the kind of space that is most optimal for development.
Yeah.
Then, yes, go.
No, you go.
So, you know, another thing to know is that there are different forms of love. In Greek, they have 4 words for love: agape, eros, filial, and
Storge.
yes,
Storge.
yes.
Yeah.
And what would be the kind of eros, by the way, is kind of sexual, the attraction between a man and woman.
Desire.
Yeah. Sorry?
Desire. Eros is sexual desire.
Yes. And then agape is unconditional godly love, let's say.
Yes.
The other is the love of a friend, and the other is family love.
Yeah, like developmental imprint love, familial love. Like.
So there is that there. You are mine, and I have an ongoing relationship with you that we're bound by virtue of being family. That is there. And I'd also suggest that there's agape love there. I love you without reason. You don't have to prove yourself to me. Behave in a certain way. It's without expectation or unconditional. It is I'm committed to your well-being, and
I would go so well. I know a lot of people think that they do agape love, that they love a lot of parents. Like, I don't know a single mother who wouldn't say I love my children unconditionally. I don't know a single mother who wouldn't make that claim. And yet, you and I know that sometimes conditions can be subconscious. And so whilst there is that beautiful, honest, earnest intention there to really wholly love, we can't give what we haven't got. So when there are conditions on ourselves, you started by saying we all have a mother. Yes, absolutely. And I would say we all are a mother also, in terms of the energy of mothering. Like, we all, that function of nurturing, nourishing, protecting, and loving unconditionally, like, that is something that if we are not doing that for ourselves skillfully and unconditionally in that way for ourselves, then we will have conditions on our children to be turning up in a certain way and be behaving in a certain way, and mightn't even realize that that's the case. I love you more when you're independent. I love you, without even realizing that that's happening. Would you agree?
Yes. So one question in my mind is, how can I tell if my love for myself is conditional? What might be some breadcrumbs that we could follow to find out if that is the case? Some hints or clues?
Yeah, I've a great question. I've been playing with this because I've been noticing how mine tends to show up around food. There's conditionality around, like, appreciate, oh, that was a wise food choice. There you go. It's not entirely neutral when there's a unwise food choice. It's energetically, it's a this gets a pat on the back, this does not. Energetically, in terms of yeah. So that's what I've been observing in myself, and that's a level of conditionality. It's
So
not a behavioral.
Rather than having a judgmental interaction, which is approving, for our listeners, if they hear nothing else, we know that approving is as
damaging
or impeding to development as disapproving.
Absolutely.
that isn't a kind of coaching space. It
Yeah.
actually makes the person look external for endorsement or non-endorsement, rather than looking to self. So
Unless
what might
it's unconditional approval. It's like approval if it's every single time. If that's the kind of approval, then that's different than sometimes and sometimes not. Do you know what I mean?
and yet we don't want to be an indulging or permissive parent who just says, yeah, okay, fine, if you're happy, it's okay. We don't want that either.
That's true.
So this other model of parenting that we're talking about, or mothering, where it's more of a being in the space with, so that maturity and development can happen, what might be the coaching response to ourself that might make unwise choices or uninformed choices?
It would be just a curious. I noticed that you made that choice. What prompted that? I wonder.
Yes.
I wonder
What prompted that? Yes.
Well,
Also, what happened when you did? Are you happy with what happened when you did? What might you know, those 3 standard questions that have come from that research on giving feedback to children. The one that comments positively, the one that comments critically, and the one that just asks questions. You know, what did it mean to you?
Yep.
Tell me about it. What might you improve or change next time? What would you like to do more of or practice and get better at? That set of 3. So we could do that. Like, that's handing the power back to that part with that is making food choices so that they can develop more self-awareness and more self-control. The other thing that I would say about love, and I'm kind of thinking just generally about the word love when we say, I really love them. What we're pointing to is saying that there is something warm inside of us when we consider the person. And I think that this is a really important distinction between love when we go, I really love this person, and what we're really saying is, I love how I feel when I'm around that person. I love the feeling I get from that person. And this is really a dysfunctional form of love that truly isn't about that person. It's about what I feel.
Wouldn't there be some overlap? Because let's say, for instance, when I think of you, I feel warm inside. When I'm around you, I also feel warm inside.
Yes, what I'm pointing to though is the form of fish love. It's not really that I am seeing you and I am appreciating you. I'm appreciating you in the fullness for how you're showing up in the world, warts and all, and I'm thinking of children.
Well, then that would be a finer distinction I would make, is, are you able to hold those warts and all and still have that warmth?
Yes.
That would, yeah.
Or is it conditional in that when you are in this way, it generates within me a certain feeling, and I like that feeling, which then will inadvertently make us want to elicit only those behaviors of the person and disapprove of other things. And then for me to feel like I love you, you've got to be in this narrow way. And this actually isn't love.
That's codependency.
That's codependency. So yeah, that was kind of
which a lot of mothers actually have.
Yes.
With their children.
Yes. So that's just some things to think about, and a big question: what does it really mean to love? We don't have enough conversation in our society about it. And if you do a kind of Google search, what is love, you'll find, oh my goodness, it's a big thing. It means different things to different people. And we don't have a very kind of clear message in our society that points us how to do really wholesome loving of another. And not even in the space of mothering little peoples do we get clear direction about that. So I suppose for us to bring it into consciousness and ask ourselves the question and consider, for me, you know, what does it truly mean, and what does it mean for me to be loving?
What does it truly mean to be loving, and what does it mean for me? Important questions for us to consider. Yeah. And I guess I would say the context. What does it mean to truly be loving? Would you say that what does it mean for me, that's context dependent, or that's irrespective of context? Because we've got those 4 types of love that, as you said, 4 different words for love that are used in Greek, and often in this case what we're talking about is agape. That is, yeah, what we're referring to. And all the other types of love, you would say, are what? Like,
well, the family love, the love that is there for family, is really the one we're talking about, because agape love is very fluid. Come into my space, you walk across the love that is here, and you may go. You could be the person who's serving me in the supermarket, or you could be my neighbor. So there may be
out of you, you are mine. That's what we're specifically within this context. So the question being, what does it mean to love? Like, and what does it mean for me to be loving in the context of family? Yeah.
And one might suggest that if we are going to engage in an eros type relationship, like this intimacy, sexual, physical, sexual connecting, would we, underneath that, would there not want to be a quality bonding that is like a through time kind of bonding or commitment that isn't just, laissez-faire, whatever? There isn't a kind of whatever feel about it. There is this ongoing commitment. And underneath that, there would also want to be a foundation of agape love.
Well, I would say yes for agape, but it depends on who you ask, in terms of whether there's a preference that there be storge, or even like philia will be there underneath the friendliness that's there under eros, I would imagine.
So I suppose that's where what does it mean? What do I mean when I use the word? And what does it mean for me in how I want to be in relation to this, in this context? Yeah.
Good. Well, that seems like a good place to wrap up today's discussion. And we'll see what emerges tomorrow.
Okay, lovely.
Tomorrow's episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments, and we'll answer them.
Okay.
Bye for now.